Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. I've still got a frog in my throat, so you'll have to forgive the croaking. Now we've got a bit of a purple patch coming up on the channel. I think we've got some incredible looking Sudokus for you and puzzles generally. Now this one today dates back to 2013. It's been recommended by Christoph Seeliger, no less, and it was very, very well received at the time. Now I'm going to talk to you a bit more about the rules of this puzzle in a second, but just to mention that Mark and I both want to thank all of you who've bought the classic Sudoku app that came out earlier this week, and especially big thanks to those of you who've taken the trouble to rate the app on the various platforms. I know it's a pain to do that, so I really appreciate it, and it seems to be going down very, very well with you guys, which is immensely gratifying for us. So thank you all. Now this puzzle, I'm desperate to try this puzzle. This is a puzzle by Jakub Hrazdira from the Czech Republic. He is a world-renowned solver and setter, absolutely awesome. And this is called a unique sum Sudoku. Now I've never done one of these before, but I think the way it works is that each of the cages in the grid must sum to a different number. So for example, if we found out these three cells here summed to 12, then no other cage in the grid could sum to 12. And that's all we know. Other than that, it's normal Sudoku rules. The usual rules apply to these cages. Obviously, they can't contain repeated digits. Although looking at them, they're all arranged orthogonally, so they couldn't never have done that anyway. And I'm going to have a go at it now. Now, if you want to have a go, and I do recommend it, as I say, this puzzle came in for a lot of praise back in the day, then just click on the link under the video. That will take you to our software where you should be able to play along. And with that, now I will confess that as I was typing this into our software, I noticed a possible way into this puzzle. So what I spotted was, look, if we look down this diagonal, it consists of a series of 9 single cell cages. So what that's going to mean is that this diagonal must, because we know they're all unique sums, actually contain the numbers from 1 to 9. And perhaps more importantly, every other cage in the grid must sum up to more than 9. Let's just count. Let's count the 2 cell cages. 1, 2. Okay, so this is going to be the trick. There are 8 2-cell cages. Now this means, let's think about this. If we know that these cages must be 10 or more, and we know that the maximum I could make a 2-cell cage would be 17, with an 8 and a 9, then actually these cages here must be every number, or must sum to every number from 10 to 17 inclusive. Now that might be useful. And it also means all the 3-cell cages therefore must sum up to 18 or more. Let's just check. So there are, right, okay, so this is very cunning, isn't it? So there are 7 3-cell cages that we know add up to 18 or more. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 and 24. That is actually all of the possibilities, because we could never make a 3-cell cage add up to more than 24, because the maximum we could make it would be 7 plus 8 plus 9. So in fact, this puzzle, every single digit or every single number from 1 to 24 is represented by a different cage. So how do we use this to start the puzzle? Oh, I see. Look, we've got... Okay, then this must be restricted, surely, because we know each of these yellow cages sums to 18 or more. So if this was 18 plus 19, that would be the minimum it could be, and that would add up to 37. So these three squares would have to add up to 8, because we know that every row, column and 3x3 box in a Sudoku adds up to 45. If you add up the numbers from 1 to 9, that's what you get. Ah, right, but look, if we did make that 18 plus 19, this would have to be 20 plus 21. Now that adds up to 41 as a minimum. And 41 is too big, because if we know that the total for the whole column is 45, these three cells would have to sum up to 4. Well, the minimum I can make three cells sum to is 6. Oh, it's clever, isn't it? So what must happen here is that we have to make these two cells, these two cages sum up to 39, and these two cages also sum up to 39. Now we can do that if we make, like, this could be 21, that could be 18, and this could be 19, and this could be 20. So it's going to have to be that sort of thing. It's not going to be possible to have like an 18 and a 19 cage. It's going to be an 18 and a 21 cage and a 19 and a 20 cage. And these squares here must be 2 and 3 to force the 6, which is the minimum we're going to have to use. So what do we do now? This square is a little bit restricted because we know it's a 2-digit cage and it must sum up to 10 or more. And we can't use a 9. So this must be a 7 or an 8. Now hang on. If these cells here are taking 18, 19, 20 and 21 away, these cages here must be 22, 23 and 24. Now that's cool actually, because it's very interesting, because whoa, actually it's really, this is surprisingly powerful. 22 always includes a 9, and we know that because if we add 8 plus 7 plus 6, we only get 21. So we know these three cages here contain 3 9s. So if there's a 9 in one of these squares, this square can't be a 9. So there must be a 9 in one of those two positions, but there's also a 9 there. So that is a 9. And we know there must be 2 9s in these two cages, so there must be 1 9 in one of these two positions, because there can be only 1 9 in those positions. And look, the other thing to note is that 22, the minimum digit I could include in a 22 cage is a 5. So 5 plus 8 plus 9 is 22. Now look, I've got 5 cells here that are all part of these big cages. So in fact, if 5 is the minimum, these 5 cells must be the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. That one can't be a 9. But hang on. Oh, this is very cunning. Right. These obviously have to be 1, 2 and 3, but let's revisit this. We know now that one of these sums includes a 5. Now that sum must be the 22 sum. So it must include an 8. And that means that these 3 cages all contain an 8. And that means there must be an 8 in one of those two squares, because It's exactly the same logic as we've just done with the 9. We know there's an 8 in one of those squares, so that can't be an 8. Now we know these two cages now need 2 8s. So I can't put them both in this 3x3 block. One of them must go here. So this is an 8-9 pair. Now how gorgeous is that? I'll tell you how gorgeous it is. It's absolutely amazingly gorgeous, because now, where do I put an 8 and a 9 in column 9? There. They must go there. So now, these 3 squares must be 5, 6 and 7. Must be a 4 in one of those squares. Oh, sorry, and I'm being slow here. Look, we've got a 2 and a 3 on this diagonal. So these 2 squares can't be a 2 or a 3, because we know each one of these numbers will be a distinct digit. So these 2 squares are the only positions 2 and 3 can go in the middle block. Those 2 squares must be 5 and 7 to complete the block. One, two, three. Oh, my phone's going again. Sorry about this. Oh, hang on. This, we know this cage contains an 8. We know it's not there, so it must be there. Now that square's a 7. We know this is a 2-digit cage, therefore it must add up to 10 or more. So this can't be a 2 anymore, that's a 3. So that's a 2. That's a 2. This is a 3. This is a 2. Okay. How about, where do we put a 1 along here? Now, if I put a 1 in this cage, I know this cage is a 2-cell cage. It must sum to 10 or more. So the only way I could put a 1 in there is if I also put a 9 in there, and I can't. So this square is a 1. And then I've got the same logic here, look. One of those 2 squares must contain a 1. Well, if I put it here, that will force a 9 into that one. That's impossible, so that's a 1. So these 2 squares must be 5, 6 or 7. Okay, so I'm grinding to a bit of a halt here. This 2 is nice though, because that forces a 2 into one of those squares. So this is a 2-4 pair now. That means that must be a 1-3 pair. This 2-4 pair fixes this as a 3, therefore that's a 2. Must be a 3 in one of those squares. Must be a 4 up here. Must be a 3 in one of those squares as well. This one can't be a 3 because of that 3. This must be 5, 6, 7. Hang on. So now we've got, we need to look at this. Look, we've got 3 different cages here that all contain only the numbers 5, 6 and 7, and they must all add up to unique totals. So they must, they must be 7, 6, 7, 5 and 6, 5. So that's 11, 12 and 13 are taken up by these 3 cages. We've also got a 10 cage, so we've got 10, 11, 12, 13 and a 17 cage. So we've got, so what have we got left to place? We've got 14, 15 and 16 to place. And they must go in this one, and this one. Well, this square must be an 8 or a 9 therefore, because we know 14, 15 and 16 always has an 8 or a 9 in it, and this square can't be an 8 or a 9 because there's already an 8 and a 9 there. So, oh, but look, hang on, we can do, if we look at this diagonal, I've not put an 8 on it yet. And I can't put an 8 in either of those squares because there's an 8 down here. So the 8 must be in one of the 2 yellow squares up there. So it's definitely not here. This is a 9. So this has got to be 5, 6 or 7 now. Which gives a 5, 6, 7 triple there. So not sure how to use that. Let's look at this. We still need 2, 4 and 5 into these squares. Oops, that went wrong. 5. What? Oh, but no, this has to be a 5 because, yeah, with the minimum we can make these 3 add up to is 14, and I can only do that if I make this a 5 and make that a 9. Therefore, that's a 9 and that's an 8. Therefore, this is a 9. And this is a 9 because there's an 8-9 pair there. This can't be a 5 now because we've used 14 up. And this has to add up to 15 or 16, and it can never use a 9, so the maximum it could be is 15, and it must be 8, 7, and it must be in this order. How clever is this puzzle? It is beautiful. This can't be a 7 anymore. This 8 resolves the order of the 8s at the top, look. No 8s in those squares now. So we still need 1, 4, oh, that can only be a 4 or a 6 because the 1 is already placed up here. So there must be a 1 in one of these 2 squares. 1, 4, 6. This 2 resolves that. Sorry, I should have spotted that. 4. 7. Voice is giving up the ghost here. I've got to finish this quickly, or I may never finish it. Okay, so well, if this is 15, this must be 16, so that must be a 7. Can't be a 9 either, obviously. So this is 5, 6, or 8. This must be a 5. This must be a 6. These squares now must be 1, 2, and 4. That one can only be a 4, look. So this is a 1, 2 pair. I'm sure there must be a way of me resolving that quickly. Yes, this 5 means, oops, this is a 2, 4 pair. So this is a 1, this is a 2. Therefore that resolves the 1 and the 3 over on the right. This must be a 3. This must be a 5 to complete the box. This must be a 7. And this must be a 5. And there must be a 5 in one of these two squares. I don't know which way that round that goes. Sorry about this, just hopefully a brief pause while I think for a moment. Ah, here's something. Look at those 3 squares. Those 3 squares need to add up to at least 18, but we've got an 8 and a 9 there, and a 9 and an 8 there. Therefore, these 3 squares here, the maximum number they could contain is a 5, 6 and a 7. 5, 6, 7 adds up to 18, so this is a 5, 6 and 7. That's not a 7. That's not a 5. That's not a 5, so that must be the 5. Oh, and this is good now. That's a 7. This is a 5. This is 6, 8, so this can't have a 6 in it, or a 5. This total is 13, so I mean, I think we must be nearly done now. If this is 18, we know this must be 21. Yeah, I mean, it stands to reason as well, given we've almost completed the block. So this must be an 8. This is a 4. And this slot along here, therefore, must be 19 and 20. So this is 13 at the moment. So this must be either 6 or 7. It can't be 7. This must be a 6. This must be 5, 7, 8, therefore. Therefore, that's an 8. This is a 5. And I'll switch to the cursor. That's a 7. Therefore, that's a 9. That's a 7. That's a 9. That's an 8. That's a 6. That's an 8. 6 here resolves that this is a 6. Therefore, that looks like it's a 1. 4 up here. 4 here. 2 here. This is a 6. This is a 7. Can't be 7. Right, so we've got an 11 total and a 13 total. So I need this to be a 12 total to be a unique sum. So that must be in that order. This is 3 and 4. That must be a 2. 6 and 5 in that order. Down here we need 2, 3 and 5. So 5, 2, 3. 1, 3 here. 3, 4 here. Uh-oh, don't like that at all. Not 4, 1. That's not right at all. 6. Would help if I could scan decently. Let's go with that. Yes. What a beautiful puzzle. What a beautiful puzzle. I mean, it's just a gorgeous idea, isn't it? And the way it's executed and the way it held together, fascinating. Loved it. So thanks very much to Jakub for compiling it. Thanks very much for Christoph for recommending it. I'm going to give my poor voice a rest and see you again soon on Cracking the Cryptic.